So the number of kids that we have that attended 3 or more schools this year, we have 4 kiddos. When we look at the kids attending 5 or more schools in the last 2 years, that raises to 10. And then when we go to the number of students attending 10 or more schools in the last 5 years, that raises to 16. Our highest number is we do have a student who has attended 18 schools in the last 5 years. But that was our highest. Just to kind of tell you where we are here at the beginning of the year, I know last year we went over our no-show data. I wanted to include that for you again. These were our kids that we had no substantiated enrollment for on the first day of school, but they were with us on the last day of school last year, okay? So the high school, we had 54 kids, intermediate 44, primary 46, and the School of Innovation was 4. And you'll see there, I know you'd like to know the reason why our kids aren't with us, and I did include the number district-wide, so that would be high school, intermediate, primary, School of Innovation, and I also pulled regional. The number of kids who transferred to homeschool was 5. Those transferring to a school within the district was 8. Kids that moved out of state or out of the United States was 28. Transferred to another enrollment in the same school was a 34. Whereabouts unknown, 14. Transferred to another district, 48. And transferred to non-public 5 for 144. I will tell you that, you know, we looked at our missing children's data back in June, and it was pretty significant. We've continued to reach out to the State Department to ask them for a comparative report. We'll continue to do so and see if we're able to get such a report. Currently, we just get the notifications for missing children. We get those so that if a child is missing and we get a records request for them, we know to call the Kentucky State Police and let them know that we've got a records request. That way they can process and see if they're able to locate that missing child. As of right now, this school year, and this was as of Monday, our 10th day of instruction, we had 4 children that had been missing, and we do still continue to have 1 child who is missing. So that would be our 5th, but that was from the 21-22 school year. We're going to continue just to monitor this data. We're going to look specifically at Newport, and then, like I said, we'll wait and see if KDE publishes that to where we're able to see how we are, comparing to other districts. For our next piece, and this is really the exciting piece, with the passage of House Bill 563 as of July 1, this did open up our borders and the borders of other school districts. It's an exciting time in Kentucky, especially when we look at just that choice and enrollment and those special considerations. For us this year so far, we've had 65 total requests for enrollment. So far, I've been able to approve 46 of those. We did have to deny 13 of those because of capacity, and we had to deny 6 because they were out of state. I know we've got some principals here. We've got a couple of classrooms where we are at max, or we are, kids who have moved into Newport, when we get their applications processed, we're going to be over. So I want you to be aware of that, when your principals are talking to you about that. I just went through and wrote down the school district transfers specifically for the non-resident applications, and you see those listed there. They're all over Northern Kentucky. We actually won't report this to other districts, and they won't report to us until after the close of the 2nd month. So I'll get those reports sometime in October. I would expect that to be at the November board meeting, just so that we can validate our data and make sure it's accurate. But I'll send them the list of kids from their district, and they'll send me the list of kids that are in their district. I went ahead and listed the most common reasons for transfer. These are in no particular order. Parents reported bullying. Parent works in the city of Newport. Some kids had moved out of district and they want to stay in Newport. Some parents felt like the prior school wasn't the right fit, or that maybe the current school wasn't meeting their needs. Some people had left Newport and went somewhere else and wanted to return to Newport. A couple of families had tuition issues, and a couple of families had also listed post-secondary opportunities, specifically Gateway and the NKU enrollment and the assistance that they get with that. The data source for that is our non-resident application. So that's where we're at. I know that's pretty quick. That's just where we're at after the 10th day of instruction. Anything here? We will continue, just to process this information, verifying as we get kids enrolling. And then we'll have our regular August report, which will take us through another 2 weeks of school. Yes, ma'am.
So, that 65, which you said 46?
Yes.
That makes up a portion of that increase to 1,460.
It does. It does. And then when I ran it today, we were at 1424. So we went up today, we went down, and we went back up. We were at 1421, and we went up to 1424. So that, as of 5 o'clock this afternoon, is where we were at. But like I said, we're hitting capacity pretty quick.
So when we talk about capacity, then we're talking about number of teachers as well as space.
We are. So we went through last year, Mr. Grayson and I did, and looked at the classroom square footage. And we laid that out for each of the rooms. We actually, just to double check, going back to our COVID numbers, just the regular allotment for teacher space, how many kids would or could we fit into classrooms, how many rooms could be used as classrooms. So taking that information, we still have space, physical space. It's our classroom numbers, the cap size that Kentucky sets for classrooms, how many kids can be in a class per one teacher. We're hitting those. Specifically, at one point, we had to stop in K1 and 3. We had to stop enrollment. Then we were able to open K and 1 back up, but third grade, and Miss Michael's here, we have no room in third grade. I think we may actually, with some people moving in, be over now. So that's where we're at.
We will.
We'll talk to my boss first.
That'll be our next meeting.
Next week. I'm going to see you in August again.
Any more questions? Thank you. I do want to have a follow-up on that 45 unaccompanied youth. I'd like to maybe at another board meeting explore that a little bit more.
Okay.
So if you could, Kim, if you could make note to put that maybe on the October work session where we can.
Are you wanting to know how many kids come in without anyone? How many kids come in with maybe
I just would like to
a
know the
friend?
process and, a little more. They're unaccompanied, if they get enrolled, where they're staying, how are they getting assistance, what the education.
We can definitely take you through the process that we use for that. I will tell you right now, and I'll really go back to February of this past year. That was the huge increase for us, just based on the number of kids we had come from out of the United States.
Okay.
And that also increased at that point in time our unaccompanied youth. But yeah, we'll absolutely go through that process with you and kind of break down if they're with anyone or if they just came in by themselves. I will say a lot of times I get a phone call, Christy and Natalie get a phone call, or they come into the Welcome Center. We get that a lot. But we'll have those numbers for you.
All right, thank
Yes.
you.
On this last slide, most common reasons for transfer, is that including the students who actually left us, or is that just the students that were?
There are some kiddos who left us for a year and want to come back. So they weren't on a non-resident contract last year, and they're wanting to come back.
So are we collecting data for why students are leaving us? For example, you said that only 36% of our 12th graders started with us in the 9th grade and have been with us continuously. Do we know why only 36% of those students are still with us?
We don't. Many times, all we'll get is just a records request from another school district. Now, we'll go back and compare, did they enroll someplace else? Did they complete within 4 years? Did they complete within 5 years? Because obviously, the district and the high school are responsible. If they started with us as freshmen, we're responsible for them on our graduation and our dropout rate. So we do look at that, but many times those students, we never see them again. They may be out of state, they may be out of country. Many of our whereabout unknown students right now, we do believe have left the country. But so, just to clarify that, if we don't find them, if we can't confirm an enrollment, those go in as dropouts. So we have to find these students. And it's very hard dependent, if it's another state, if it's another Kentucky county, it's much easier. Or if the parents have decided not to enroll someplace, it makes it more difficult to find them. I will say our whereabout unknown this point in time as compared to last year is much better. If you remember last year when I came in August, or I believe it was the September board meeting, we had several. And that was really in response to, with COVID, if people had moved during the pandemic, they stayed enrolled in their original school district. And then as that opened up, a lot of families had moved, not realizing that they had to enroll in person in their new district. So we did have that last year.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Lisa, you're up.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Watts, superintendent, and members in attendance in the audience. This evening, I will be going over funding to support special education programming, new special education population, and our parent surveys that KDE conducts every year. What you'll see is the average dollar amount that we spend to serve our population. This is a typical state range. It is, if you'll see here, $10,775.48 is what we typically spend, the range, for our special population students. The state average range is anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000. So the supports and services that we provide to students are orientation and mobility. Those are contract providers that provide supports for students learning Braille, navigating in the community. We provide occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech and language services, to name a few. Our next slide that we're going to look at is our special education services. What you'll see in the blue is the number of students that we get funding for. We get funding from our student enrollment on December the 1st of every year. In 2020-21, we received funding for 201 students, and our population that we serve, students entering into the district and maybe relocating out of the district, but our total population we served in 2020 and 21 was 272 kids. Historically, in 2020, we served 195 students. Now, we got paid for 195 student population, and we served 267. Our largest population that we served was in 2017-16, and we received funding for 237 of those populations. The next information that I'll be sharing with you is, for the past 2 years, KDE has been collecting data from parents of our student population. It is a requirement from the federal government that KDE collects this information. KDE sets the questions. It's less than 7 questions. That typically is conducted in the spring of every year. We get the results in October. So one of the things that I've included is the questions. We are in red and the state average is in blue. So when we ask the parents, do you feel the school staff welcomed you to participate in the planning of your child's evaluation process? Do you feel included? The state reported 89% of the parents did feel included. Our parents reported 96%. Has your school helped prepare your child for 14 years of age and older for future employment through vocational training? The state report is at 59%. Our parents in the year 2020 reported 100%. Parents feel that they are involved with their child's education. The state report had 75% roughly, and our parents reported 79% felt that they were involved in the development of the IEP and in the overall programming of this and the supports and services of our students. And did the school involve you in a meaningful way to improve services and results for your child? Our parents reported 100%, and the state average was 90%. On a scale of 1 to 5, where 1, I don't understand the IEP process at all, and 5, I fully understand the IEP process, how well would you say that you understand the IEP process? On average, the state is 4.3, and we are at 4.0. We're behind the state in that one. So our results for 2021 school year, some of the questions did change. Parents rated the impact of disabilities of learning on their involvement with the child's school as very positive. The state average was 20.10 and Newport was 34.9. Parent rates very positive for schools communicating during distance learning. Newport rated at 81.40 and the state average was 53.0. Do you feel the school staff welcomed you to participate in the planning of your child's education? Newport's parent rated us at 100% and the state average was 87%. Has your school helped prepare your child for students years 14 years of age and older for future employment? Our parents rated 100%, state average was at 67%. Parent feels they are welcome, involved with their child's education, state average 71%, Newport 81.40. Did your school involve you in a meaningful way to improve services and the results for your child? Newport